A pleasant morning, grade 9 learners. I'm Ma'am Donna Torres, and welcome to another art-terrific learning engagement. Join me as I guide you in discovering the technique of communication through arts. This is Valenzuela Live MAPEH 9. But before we begin, here are some gentle reminders that you need to remember every learning engagement. Prepare your pen and paper so you can write important information from our discussion today. Avoid unnecessary comments. Do not comment stickers or emojis which are not related to your activity. Be polite. Avoid using unpleasant words if you want to ask questions, and be kind in expressing your thoughts. Be attentive. Your active participation through your reactions and comments in every task will be highly appreciated. Most importantly, practice punctuality. Attend your online learning engagement on time and support Valenzuela Live through Mapulang Lupa National High School Project Watch, for we advocate time consciousness and honesty. So students, are you now ready to learn? If yes, kindly hit the heart reaction at the bottom of your screen. Thank you, learners. For today, we will be using the learning materials in Arts 9 prepared by Mr. Clip Harold N. Sanchez from Bignay National High School. And we will focus on the following most essential learning competencies. Create artworks guided by techniques and styles of Renaissance and Baroque periods. Explain the influence of iconic artists belonging to the Renaissance and Baroque periods. Apply different media techniques and processes to communicate ideas, experiences, and stories showing the characteristic of the Renaissance and Baroque periods. Evaluate works of arts in terms of artistic concepts and ideas using criteria from the Renaissance and Baroque period. And number 5, show the influences of the Renaissance and Baroque periods on the Philippine art form. Now, let's keep the ball rolling and let's find out how much do you remember from your previous discussion about the Renaissance and Baroque period. Let's play a guessing game entitled, Who Owns This Style? I'm going to show you art styles or techniques, and your task is to identify whether the art style is Renaissance or Baroque. You may comment a smiling emoji if the art style represents Renaissance period, and a winking emoji if the art style represents Baroque period. Let's start. Here's the first art style. Irregular shape. Key in your emoji, learners. The correct answer is winking emoji, because this style represents Baroque period. Let's have number 2. Analogous color. What's the correct emoji? Correct. It's a smiling emoji, for the picture shows Renaissance style. Now, here's number 3. A contrast of light and dark shades. What's your answer, learners? Good. Smiling emoji. Let's now have number 4. The correct answer, very good. Winking emoji. For the picture shows Baroque style. Here's the last picture. Smoky. What's your answer, learners? Great. It's a smiling emoji because the picture shows Renaissance style. Great job, learners. Now, here's a recap of your answer. So here's the characteristic of Renaissance and Baroque art. In Renaissance art, we use analogous color, high contrast of light and dark shades, and smoky. And in Baroque art, an irregular shape and dramatic or extravagant. Now, observe the different art style or technique of Renaissance and Baroque period. Generally, the Renaissance art style presents the concept of perception. Perception is an art concept presenting the possibility of a three-dimensional look in drawings or paintings using analogous colors. Remember your art lesson in elementary about foreground, middle ground, and background? Its concept is guided by Renaissance art. On the other hand, Baroque art style is characterized by ornate details, meaning it's an artwork showing exaggerated motion, grandeur, and drama. Such Baroque art style is evident in the different church ceiling in the Philippines, such as the Bantayan Church in Cebu. Please take note, students, that when we say Renaissance art, the keyword is steady. And when we say Baroque art, the keyword is dramatic. To further understand the distinct art style and technique of Renaissance and Baroque period, let's identify their significant features. Let's begin with the Renaissance period. Which in history was a time of economic progress and artistic experimentation, which began in 14th century in Europe. Renaissance art style and technique is a combination of the representation of Christianity and science. Specifically, there are four significant styles and techniques of Renaissance art. First is cambiante, from the Italian word cambiare, meaning to change. Is an art style and technique that uses a change of colors or analogous to show the shadows and highlights. Take a look again on the painting in your activity earlier created by Michelangelo of the prophet Daniel, which can be found in the Sistine Chapel. Observe that the shaded part of the robe is green, while the highlighted part is yellow, but the two colors are analogous or parallel to each other. Second is chiaroscuro, from the Italian word chiaro meaning light and scuro meaning dark. It's an art style and technique using high contrast of light and dark colors. Just like the picture in your first activity a while ago of the martyrdom of Saint Matthew, created by a famous Italian painter, Michelangelo Caravaggio. Here, We can observe that it has a deep dark shadows and bright highlights next to each other that creates a dramatic effect as if there's a spotlight. This style and technique makes a picture or artwork more rounded and three-dimensional. The third is sfumato. Sfumato meaning smoky. This art style and technique is the blending of colors and shadows together to create pictures without drawing lines or edges among figures, producing soft, cloudy effects. We can see this art style in the famous painting of Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa. I presented in your activity earlier. Take a look at the picture closely. We can observe that there's no black outline to identify the face and figure of Mona Lisa. Instead, Da Vinci used naturalistic radiation of shadow to create the picture of Mona Lisa. Fourth, unione. Very similar to sfumato because it does not also use outline to create images. But the difference is it uses bright colors, such as the artwork of Raphael, like the well-known Transfiguration. We can see that the colors used in this artwork is more vibrant and colorful. Let's now find out the renowned styles and techniques of the Baroque period, which started in the 16th century as a period of Reformation. Baroque came from a Portuguese word Barroco, which means irregularly shaped pearl. And as mentioned earlier, Baroque art is generally described as ornate, meaning exaggerated, dramatic, and more movement. In world history, it's the period that represents the power of the church. There are three exceptional Baroque art style and technique. First, tenebroso, from the Latin word tenebrae, meaning darkness, is known as dramatic illumination. This Spanish Baroque art style originated from the Renaissance art style chiaroscuro, as figures are also portrayed in a background of light and dark contrast. Now, what's the difference of tenebroso from chiaroscuro? Tenebroso uses less light contrast and more of dark contrast. Example of this, the Adoration of the Magi, created by the famous Spanish Baroque artist Diego Velázquez. Next is fresco, an Italian word meaning fresh. It's a technique of mural painting which was also evident in the Renaissance period, but made its way to the Baroque period as counter-Reformation artworks. There are three types of fresco have emerged in art. The buon, mezzo, and secco. Buon fresco or true fresco, which uses mineral or earth pigments applied to a layer of wet plaster. Next is mezzo fresco or medium fresco. In contrast, made use of dried plaster. Third, fresco secco or the dry fresco. uses binding medium like glue adhesive or egg yolk to make paint stick on the surface and create less vibrant colors. One of the most incredible Baroque fresco art is the glorification of Saint Ignatius, created by Fra Andrea Pozzo, an Italian painter. Finally, we have the Rococo, from the French word rocaille, meaning rubble. It is an art style during the late Baroque period characterized by soft colors and curvy lines. And unlike other Baroque art styles, which focus on the importance of the Catholic Church, Rococo represents scenes of love, nature, entertainment, and youth, but still dramatic. It was introduced by Jean Antoine Watsou, the father of Rococo art. Example of his artwork is the Scale of Love, that shows a young man playing a guitar while looking at a young woman seated on the grass right beside him. There you have it, learners, the different art styles and techniques of the Renaissance and Baroque period. Now, let us discover the influences of these two classical arts to the Philippine art form. Let's watch this.
Art forms in the Philippines are diverse. Western influences can be seen in the Philippine art forms such as painting, dancing, weaving, sculpting, and pattern. In 16th century, the Baroque style was brought by the Spanish and Portuguese to the Philippines, where it became the prominent style of building large and small churches. Large Baroque churches often have a proportionally very wide facade which seems to stretch between the towers. During this time the Spaniards used paintings as religious propaganda to spread Catholicism throughout the Philippines. These paintings, mostly on the church walls, featured religious figures in Catholic teaching. The pre-colonial architecture of the Philippines consisted of nipa huts made from natural materials. However, there are traces of large-scale construction before the Spaniards came. An example of this is the pre-colonial wall city of Manila, which was dismantled by the Spaniards and rebuilt as Intramuros with its houses, churches, and fortress after the Spanish colonization. During the 300 years of Spanish colonization, Philippine architecture was dominated by Spanish influences.
Here are some Baroque-inspired churches in the Philippines. The San Agustin Church in Manila, San Agustin Church in Paway, Ilocos Norte, Santo Tomas de Villanueva Church in Miagao, Iloilo, Baclayon Church in Bohol, and the Santa Maria Church in Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur. As you can see, the Renaissance and Baroque period are not only part of the world history, but also a great influence in the culture and arts in our country. Now, for your activity, my dear learners, I want you to accomplish the task on your module in MAPEH page 16 entitled Scenery Spot. The materials you need to use: a canvas, an illustration board or illustration board, a permanent marker, paint, and paintbrush. Here's the procedure. Paint an object in accordance with the principle of art of the Renaissance and Baroque period. Arrange the objects and different colors as the background, middle ground, and foreground. Apply color harmonies to achieve the proper contrast and values of colors. We're almost done in our learning engagement today. Now, let's have a question and answer portion. I will give you 2 minutes to type your questions in the comment box, and I will be glad to answer them. You may now start, and I will be back in a short while. And I'm back. Let me now answer some questions captured by our moderator. Our first question is from Vicente P. Trinidad National High School. Why art is very important in the Renaissance and Baroque period? Art is very significant in the Renaissance and Baroque period because it is a great medium of expression in the society of Christianity, science, power, and nature. Next question is from Linguna National High School. What is the similarity of Renaissance and Baroque art? Well, aside from both originated in Europe, Renaissance and Baroque art are both historical, classical, and artistic across geographic area. Last question is from Mapulang Lupa National High School. Can we make an artwork having one subject but using both Renaissance and Baroque style? Definitely, yes. It's only a matter of light and dark color combination or blending, plus playing with shades for you to show the different style of the same theme. That ends our Q&A portion. For other questions or queries, your teacher will surely answer them in your respective follow-up discussion. And that ends our terrific learning journey for today. I hope you learned a lot and thank you for joining me. Here's 2 thumbs up for your active participation, my dear grade 9 students. Remember, art is the queen of all sciences, communicating knowledge to all the generations of the world. Thank you for tuning in Venezuela Live MAPEH 9. This has been Ma'am Donna, and see you again in our next live stream.